Hence, it's imperative that efforts should be unidirected to educate, empower, and energize women entrepreneurs. Various stakeholders need to come together to ensure stronger participation of women in this entrepreneurial world. I humbly feel that such academic platforms are envisioned as an initiative towards orienting the future generations to take up entrepreneurship by choice and not by chance. I'm sure that this virtual gathering of intellectuals and students is set to have a value addition for us all. Thank you. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Aparna ma'am. Now I request Principal, Maulana Azad College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Dr. Mazhar Ahmed Farooqi sir, to address this webinar.
The former director of Bajaj Incubation Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathoda University, Aurangabad, and a very good friend of mine, Dr. Santosh Vas, who is the chief guest and resource person for today. Mr. B.V. Rathod, retired additional director, Directorate of Industries, Government of Maharashtra. Dr. M.A. Bari, Vice Principal of Maulana Azad College. Dr. Aditi Bhattacharya, IQAC Coordinator. Dr. Rajan Shinde, NAC Coordinator. The organizing committee, faculty members, participant delegates, researchers, scholars, and dear students. A hearty welcome, one and all. I am delighted to address this versatile virtual gathering of academicians, entrepreneurs, parents, and students. The Maulana Azad College of Arts, Science and Commerce was established in the year 1963 by late Dr. Rafiq Zakaria, ex-minister and member of parliament, an eminent scholar, freedom fighter, and internationally known intellectual. Initially, the uh, college with only 144 students has evolved into an educational hub, popularly known as Dr. Rafiq Zakaria campus. Over the last 57 years, the college has built and maintained state-of-the-art infrastructure and healthy academic environment. Under the able guidance of our mentor, Padam Shri Fatima Rafiq Zakaria, the college has been successfully accredited with A grade in consecutive two cycles. The college is also granted the potential for excellence status by UGC. Entrepreneurship is identified as the growth engine of any and every economy. It is also discussed extensively across the globe. However, women entrepreneurship somehow is a less attended area. Even today, we do not find girls and women taking up entrepreneurship as their career choice. To worsen the scenario, we have witnessed the devastating effect of this pandemic of COVID-19 on entrepreneurship. But as much as the COVID-19 crisis is a threat for women entrepreneurs, it has also provided an opportunity to enter into new markets like those of masks, sanitizers, organic food products, etc. Of course, there are many factors which hinder their participation and progress. Nonetheless, women are important agents of change and directing their potential will be crucial for the sustainable and inclusive recovery from the crisis. And I believe time has come when such intellectual deliberations should be held extensively, thus paving the way to more and more women entering the field of entrepreneurship. I congratulate the organizing committee for taking up the webinar on a very relevant theme. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Dr. Mazhar Ahmed Farooqi sir, for your principal's address. Now, I would request Dr. Madhuri Sasrabuddhe Madam, Associate Professor, Department of Microbiology, to please introduce our first orator for this webinar, Dr. Santosh Vas sir. Over to Dr. Madhuri Sasrabuddhe ma'am.
I really feel proud and fortunate to get introduced Dr. Santosh Vas. Dr. Santosh Vas is the R&D Director of Kemin South Asia Private Limited, Chennai. He has obtained an award-winning PhD in biochemistry from CSIR National Chemical Laboratory, Pune, and MBA in marketing from University of Pune. He has published 15 national and international publications in reputed journals and is a co-investigator of US patent and PCT application. Dr. Santosh Vas is a results-driven business growth leader in 20 years of experience in innovation strategy and new business development, research and development, strategic IPR, and technology commercialization. He has core experience in biotechnology, renewable energy, chemicals and materials, food, feed, and nutrition industry. He has worked at different middle and senior management positions with reputed organizations like the European Chemicals Multinational DSM, the Indian conglomerate Reliance, the Process Technology Innovator, PRAJ Industries Limited, and the agribusiness giant Myco. Dr. Vas has hands-on experience in creating and implementing growth strategies through diversifications, new product introductions, technology acquisitions, cross-border collaborations with industry and academics. He has designed various customized tools to enhance R&D productivity and innovation management processes. He has worked with customers and strategic partners in US, Europe, ASEAN countries, and he brings a powerful network of industrialists, academics, and policymakers, VCs in India and overseas. He is passionate about open innovation and business model discovery. He has been a regular speaker at various conferences. He is co-founder of management consulting firm Midas Insights that is engaged in advising small and medium-sized enterprises as well as technology startups. At Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad, he was founder director of Bajaj Innovation Center and section and company AIC BNU Foundation. He was instrumental in getting funding of rupees 10 crore from Atal Innovation Mission, NITI Aayog, Government of India, and rupees 5 crore from Maharashtra State Innovation Society, Government of Maharashtra. He built pipeline for 14 startups from scratch, and 3 of those are already commercially successful. He was a member of DBT Barak Big Grant Evaluation Panel, Government of India, and has been training students and executives in strategy, innovation, management, entrepreneurship as faculty at the Department of Management Sciences, University of Pune. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhuri Sasrabuddhe ma'am, for your brief introduction for the today's orator. Now I welcome Dr. Santosh Vas sir and request him to please continue and take over for this webinar.
Sure. Thank you, Ashfaq. Thank you for that introduction, Dr. Sasrabuddhe. And to Dr. Farooqi sir, we have been talking about this opportunity for quite some time. Fortunately, now we are doing this with the help of technology. So, sir, I have kept my word, although it was a year back story, but I'm back here with you all. It's also special for me to come back to Aurangabad because I spent a year and a half there, and it was very passionate time working around with a lot of new people, understanding the society there, and try to build something from the scratch at university. And I'm very proud of what was achieved in 1.5 years. So it's always a pleasure to come back and interact with the audience here back in Aurangabad. So sometime back when Dr. Farooqi approached me regarding this talk, and I said, sir, frankly, I'm not this expert on women entrepreneurship. Although I work in the area of entrepreneurship and startups, but I'm not the expert on women entrepreneurship. And he said, sir, no, sir, whatever you feel appropriate, you can speak. It will be a great, insightful experience for others. So thanks to his request, I'm here and I'm going to share some of my views on women entrepreneurship.
I've broken down this talk into three parts. The first is we'll look at some factual data about women entrepreneurship in India. And then as we go further, I would like to spend more time with you on telling you about nuts and bolts of entrepreneurship. And the third part is, as requested by Dr. Saraf, she mentioned to me that it will be good to elaborate a bit on what is the concept of incubation and how should one be move in incubation centers. So I'm also going to speak about that. Before I start speaking, a couple of customary announcements. So since the technology has its own limitations, um, I would suggest you to have your questions in the chat box instead of trying to engage. We try to get into discussion with each other. So that's one. Secondly, I hope you are able to see my screen. So if somebody can just confirm that my screen is viewable, I'm ready to go.
Yes, first slide is this.
Excellent. Excellent. So thank you very much,
Yes, first
Arif.
slide is displayed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arif. So to start with, why women entrepreneurship is so important, right? Everybody knows that we are an emerging economy and emerging economy with a huge potential. So everybody you talk, I mean, through my professional engagements, I get chance to speak with so many people, especially people from overseas, and they say India has a huge potential. They keep about talking about a term, the demographic dividend. They say India has a huge demographic dividend, but demographic dividend without understanding of our gender preparedness means nothing. Okay, so even if we go by rough census data, if we keep 50% of our female gender out of the growth story, we're never going to achieve the targets that we think we should be achieving, right? So as during the introduction, Dr. Saraf mentioned that um, the labor force and the involvement of women in the labor force of this country has been really marginal. And that is for several reasons. So today, while talking, I'm not going to get into those reasons because it's an auspicious occasion talking here on the day of Women's Entrepreneurs Day. But if somebody wants to understand that a bit more for the reasons and why we got slipped into this kind of situation, we can have a separate one-on-one talk afterwards. But what I'm going to tell you today is that how much important it is to have women involved in economic story of India. Okay. So on the onset, I congratulate all the females who are part of this talk and who have chosen to be attending this talk and try to understand about woman entrepreneurship. So I hope they will derive something out of this talk. So I'm moving my slides now. Last year or a year before, the Honorable Prime Minister of India announced that India will become $5 trillion economy by the year 2025. Can you see this slide?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so in case the slides are not moving, do let me know. So I'm talking about slide number 2, and I'm talking about dream of Honorable Prime Minister who said that we'll be $5 trillion economy by 2025. But if you look at some of the realistic number, where are we today and what it would take for us to achieve this dream, there is a huge gap in what is the perception and what is the reality today. Today we are close to $3 trillion economy, and if we say we have to reach to $5 trillion economy in the context of today's gloomy environment of COVID and economical slowdown, all of that, this looks like a very distant dream that can be faced. So, but that doesn't take away importance of this target. So let us assume that even if not by 2025, but we achieve this by 2020, 2030, 5 years more. Is it really possible to achieve this? And the answer is yes. It is possible if we are able to get the second gender, which is not been so productive as of now for several reasons, be a part of this story, we'll be able to achieve this dream. So let's look at where are we right now. So if you look at this, what we see is out of approximately 435 billion working age women in India, about 343 millions are not in the paid formal work network. That means more than 80% of women are not part of paid formal work. And I have another slide which talks about where do we stand globally on this. And the picture is not really attractive. It's really pathetic. So what is shown in this diagram is that, so as of now, we have 89 million women involved in the labor force. That means roughly 9 crore women are the part of labor force of the country. And there are close to 2 million women, close to 2 crore women, which are willing to join the labor force, but they are unemployed for some reason. They are seeking job, but they are not in job at this point of time. If we look at the total bracket that is lying outside of the labor force, that means women's which are productive in the sense of their age group for contributing to economy, that is women in the age group of 15 to 64, there are 32.4 crore women which are sitting outside of this net that can contribute to this country. Now this country, which has a population of 130 billion people, out of this roughly 80 billion people which are called productive people, out of that, if you look at this number, this is almost around 40 to 50% of the women which are outside of the economical contributing group. Okay, it's not that they are not capable, but it's only that they have not been utilized as a resource in contribution towards the global economy, to the Indian economy. Now, if you look at this number, where do we stand? And then you will pardon me for the word that I've used. The picture is pathetic because this is the contribution of Indian women in the country's GDP. Okay, so if you look at labor force wise data, UK is the highest, where the 73% of the productive women, productive in the sense of economically productive women, are part of this labor force, whereas India is only 25%. And what is sad further is that in this list, if you see, we constantly keep comparing ourselves with China, which has around 69% women contributing to their national GDP as a part of labor force. And if you look at this picture, some countries like Ghana, Brazil, Indonesia, they are ahead of us. We are even behind Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Egypt on these numbers. And we are matching Pakistan and only few countries. Okay. So what are we saying is that we are far, far below global averages. And we are even below Bangladesh and Sri Lanka when it comes to contribution of our women to the labor force of India. And what is sad is that if you look the numbers from 2004 onwards, they're continuously dropping down. I mean, this is not at all a good sign. Now this is statistics, and this statistic looks bad because we are adding more and more people, and that is why ratio of Indian women coming down. I understand that, but still, this number speaks and they represent India on the global forum. So it's a very important element that to look at. So we say by 2030, India's working age population will surpass 1 billion and 400 million women economic potential will be left unaddressed. That means we have a resource, but we are not able to leverage it. So if we have to get all these women into the casting net, how are we going to get? Is it possible to employ everybody? Certainly not, unless and until we create new enterprises. Now, the reason I said initially that I am not the expert on women entrepreneurship, frankly, I don't discriminate between woman entrepreneur and a male entrepreneur. If we go purely by definition, Government of India says any business where woman holds more than 51% of shareholding are woman businesses or woman entrepreneurship cases. Whereas we look at the contribution of entrepreneurship to the economy, they're all same. They create jobs, they create wealth, and they create good societal life for everybody. Now, why we are focusing on women entrepreneurship then? It's because that segment of the society has not been actively leveraged so far. Now, it has been found that when we provide equal access inputs to women-owned enterprises, they produce strong economic outcomes compared to enterprise led by men. And why is so? Some obvious reasons. The great social worker Mahatma Jyotiba Phule used to say की एक माणूस शिकला तर तो स्वतः शिकतो, पण जर एक फिमेल शिकली तर ती अख्ख्या घराला शिकवते. She turns every home into an educated home. It's not very different when it comes to entrepreneurship of women. It has been found that the contribution by women's employment is outsized in terms of social returns because women invest their income into children's health and education, and that benefits the future generation. So that is why it further emphasizes why it is important to get more and more women contributing to entrepreneurship field. They are in outcomes not only on the individual level, not only on the personal level, but they contribute to even social outcomes, and they also help in fueling innovation. Let us understand, male and female, we are programmed differently to think. Our our way to look at things are very, very different, right? Take a simple WhatsApp message. If you send a message to a male, he will just read the message, he'll get the main message, and he will reply, and the matter is over. But if you send a message to a female, she will look at everything that is written in the message and what is not written in the message as well. She'll look at what is the comma, what is the full stop, why did he put a semicolon here, what is it he means when he say this. We are programmed to think differently. Why I'm bringing this element here for the discussion? Because it gives a different eye to look at this problem that is existing in the field. When I say problem, it's also an opportunity. That means there is a problem that needs to be solved. Now, from a male perspective, that problem can be solved in XYZ way, but from a female perspective, that can be solved more creatively, more innovatively. And that's where they say that more and more people, women, you get into entrepreneurship mode, they are they result in fueling innovation in the ecosystem. And that's why if you look most of these Western countries where they are progressed, they will see their contribution of female to their contribution of females in terms of achieving their economic parameters substantially. Now, if we have to summarize where are we in terms of current status, yeah, I mentioned statistically the number looks low, but in actual, if we go by numbers, then we have grown from 15% to 20% in terms of growth of women enterprises. We still see there is a huge gap between global peers, which I have already shown in another graph. There we see women-owned enterprises in India are largely single-person enterprises. Now, this is very, very interesting fact, right? We say one of the important role of entrepreneur is to create job for others. Whereas if we look at this 20% of women-led entrepreneurs in India, only 1% of them have scaled it up so that they can employ more people. Most of remaining enterprises, they are person-led, they are single person-led. So for example, the examples are like in urban ecosystem, there are beauty parlors, right? There are tuitions, there are single person oriented inter-service sectors. So CA, chartered accountants, doctors. So these are all examples of a single person led enterprises. They are important, but they don't create great job potential for the society. So this is another reason why we have stayed behind to the global averages, because most of the enterprises that women created in this country, they are mainly single person enterprises. Now, there is one more problem we have in our society. Now, when I say that numbers have grown from 14% to 20%, they're only statistically. Okay. You know it well, better than me, that why do people put their women's name to an enterprise? It's quite possible the businesses are run by males, but they are on the name of females. So this number that we see 20% is over-represented number, right? It could be avoiding certain tax liabilities for themselves, or it could also be because of gaining certain advantage. There are several schemes that government launch for women entrepreneurs, and people take benefit of it by creating furgy companies in name of their spouses or their sisters or whoever is the female member in the society. This is, I know this is a big slide. I'm not going to go through everybody, but this is just to tell you that what are the segments of women-led entrepreneurs in our country, right? So I said there is category called scalers, and these are less than 1%. These are the people who have created really large enterprises, who are given jobs to hundreds of people. they have turnover of more than 50 lakhs in revenue, but that number is only 1%. Then we look at women who are a small business owner who generate less than 50 lakh in revenue and employ less than 10%. That number is close to 6%. Then we come to smaller cities or rural cities. We are around 8% women who run rural small businesses. Okay. Then we have urban solopreneurs. So these are people like chartered accountants, people like doctors, people like lawyers, practitioners, or running small businesses. They are around 31%, but they are again urban solopreneurs. Solo means individual entrepreneurs. Then we have people in the rural sector who are again solopreneurs. So these are people who supply vegetables, who get down to serve in the rural sector. So that number is around 38%. And then we have agripreneurs who are dedicated in the agriculture sector. So these are people like poultry farm runners and those are kind of people. They're close to 16%. Again, I am qualifying this that these are numbers based on what is registered in government systems, and these are based on the businesses registered on the women's name, but we really don't know who are running these businesses. Now, if we look at what are the motivations, why are we women getting into this, right? So, and if we have to focus on what are the key reasons as per segments, uh, first, two important reasons are, especially for people who are on the larger side of entrepreneurship, they are either that they had interest on that particular sector or there was a familiarity to the sector. That means there was somebody in the family running that kind of business and they got into it, right? Or it could also be there was a need that was identified and they said, okay, then nobody has provided solution to this. This is more a need that can be solved by a woman entrepreneur, and they got into business. Whereas the second important need, motivation, why women got into this is financial need. And here we represent different categories. So if you look at the urban segment, there's the first two blocks. We don't have that much high respondent there. But if you look at the rural small businesses or rural solopreneurs or agripreneurs, most of them get into their own businesses because of financial need. And many of these times, it could be associated with loss of a single breadwinner. That means their husband, they have lost him, and that is why they are getting inside in the entrepreneurship game. And these are some observation, and I thought it would be interesting to share this with you at this point of time. Now let's look at some of the interesting stories. I'm going to make use of some popular examples so that everybody can recognize this. But there are, of course, number of entrepreneurs who are anonymous, who are females, and they run smaller enterprises, but they are not in the limelight. So I'm sure you know this person, Kiran Muzumdar Shaw. And whenever we talk about women entrepreneurship in this country, the first name that comes to our mind is Dr. Shaw. So her father was an employee at Vittal Malya Foundation, and he was he used to work in a United Breweries. And this lady used to observe his father, and then she said, I want to learn brewing. So she went to Australia to learn brewing technology. And when she came back, she saw there is no other company in this country that can offer her a job. So she said, okay, let me start doing something on my own. And the first idea that came to her mind is that in brewing business, brewing is beer making business, a very predominant business in Aurangabad. There are a lot of breweries in Aurangabad. So what this lady thought is, while you go through brewing process, there are heat-based solubilization processes, which are very tedious. So why don't we bring enzyme applications in brewing processes? And she started working with enzymes. What was her initial capital? Her initial capital was 10,000 rupees. And where did she started? She started in garage. From there, in 1978, a small start. Today, if you look at Kiran Mazumdar Shaw's business, it has a market cap of more than 20,000 crores. So when I say it's a sum accumulation of all the shares of Biocon available on the market, the total sum is more than 20,000 crore. Okay. Another reason why I put this as a first story, because in this story, what you will see is that the entire enterprise was built by this lady, by vision of this lady. And what this enterprise has shown us is that While you start humble, there is a possibility to reach higher scales. Secondly, it's very, very important to be flexible and nimble when you get into a business. I'm repeating the statement. It is very, very important to be flexible and nimble when you get into the business. So you may start with something that you know well, but when you see there is a bigger opportunity outside, you have to switch yourself and move to a bigger opportunity. So I'm going to elaborate that in a minute with what Kiran Muzumdar Shah did. So 78 to year 2003, 2004, Biocon was only 300 crore company, a revenue of 350 crore company. It was predominantly enzyme company, and there were not many innovations in biocons in terms of new solid state fermentation technology. Only India's only biotech enterprise at that point of time, and there are many, many more. But then this lady didn't stop there. What she said is, now I understand this technology, so let me make use of this technology platform to produce something which is more valuable. And what is that more valuable? That is pharmaceutical. So she got into biopharma. To tell you, what we see today in biopharma is only scratch or a tip of iceberg. There's a huge, huge potential lying there, and Biocon is set up at the forefront of it. She had tied up with very, very prestigious businesses across the world, and her voice is heard even by PMO when it comes to talk about India and Indian life sciences segment. She has created this despite of competition with other male-led pharmaceutical industry in this country. So very, very inspirational story. I'm moving to the next slide now. This name is very popular. I need not give so elaborate um, introduction to this name, Shehnaz Hussain. She is a founder of Shehnaz Herbals. And what is interesting about this lady is, before this lady, the beauty parlor business was not scaled up business. It was more run as an individual business. So she is the one who not only brought the new concept of herbals in beauty parlors, but then she could also scale it up. And this is a global business now. Who doesn't know this name? VLCC is there now in every city. Vandana Luthra, another example of woman-led entrepreneurship, right? Now they are a global organization operating in more than 14 countries and 150 cities. And she's not only stopped at only beauty parlor or a beauty that comes from external world. She is a perfect advocate of beauty from within. So she says that if you want to be beautiful, you have to consume the right nutrition, you have to exercise, and then you also have to go through the external appearances makeovers. Lot of new things about these ladies. A younger entrepreneur, because first three names were the names from previous generation, although very, very successful. But there are some examples from current generations as well. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples from current generation. Name of this lady is Richa Kar, and she is the founder of Zivame. Zivame, the name is very well known under women community, so I will not elaborate. But what she has found that there is an unmet need. And again, I'm going to come to this a very, very important point, that whenever you think about creating an enterprise, it's extremely important to understand what is the unmet need, a need which is not met. Now, what does Zivame does? Zivame sells women innerwear online. So what was the need there? What this lady observed is, most of the times when she goes to buy her innerwears in the market, most of the time salesmen are male, and it used to make her very uncomfortable buying innerwears from male. And then she said, why don't I leverage a technology platform where people can have an experience of, especially the females can have an experience of buying innerwears online. And she brought a design angle to this. And this is a very, very powerful startup now. This has been quoted everywhere when we talk about women entrepreneurship in this country. Yeah, I didn't wanted to leave this lady, Shraddha Sharma. She is the founder of CEO. So she was an entrepreneur who became an entrepreneur. So let me explain you what is entrepreneur. Okay. So entrepreneur is a person who starts his own innovative concept, her own innovative idea, whilst you are working in a large setup. For example, this person was working with a company called CNBC. So if you know, some of you who invest in the stock market would know what is CNBC. So this lady used to work on a very plush position in CNBC, but she always had a drive to do something different, right? Now, those who know CNBC channel, they publish business news. And if you look at the business news in this country, most of it is about large businesses. So this lady said, there's so many things happening outside large businesses very interestingly. Why don't we look at it? So the idea was not picked up very well by the CNBC, saying that there is hardly any startup culture in this country. Why do we spend prime time slots on this national or international TV? And then this lady said, I firmly believe in this and let me begin with the video blog. She started it as a blog and became very, very successful blog. And then the company took cognizance of it. So some of you who watch CNBC TV 18, they have multiple channels there. You will see there is a segment called Your Story. They still publish that with the name Your Story, where they cover a lot of startup entrepreneurs and what was their story while they came up with entrepreneur. Typically, an entrepreneur goes through a lot of emotional roller coaster ride when they start. And it is very, very interesting to read about them, how they made it successful. So Shabda Sharma today runs this Your Story. I have personally met her a few times and it's been very inspirational talking to her. She has more than 70,000 stories on the server on her website now, and she's been well rewarded. She's also been called as a top 500 LinkedIn influencer, and I'm sure sometime you people will call her for the talk and get benefited from her experience of running uh, her own startup, but a startup that promotes other startups. Okay. So when I took you through this interesting stories, if we have to do a biopsy of an entrepreneur, if we do anatomy of an entrepreneur, what is it that makes an entrepreneur? So there are three things. There are things like talent, there are things like techniques, and there is a temperament. So talent is all about virtues like creativity, courage, focus, being resourcefulness, and all of that. Temperament is about your ego drive, your mission, your activation, how quickly you adapt to an opportunity in terms of taking job. And then technique is about how to become an entrepreneur. It's about acquiring those skill sets. I always tell people, whatever you say in the theory, ultimately you need to have knowledge in your head, you need to have passion in your heart, and the most important is you should have fire in your belly to take risk. I have seen many people who have a lot of knowledge. They are passionate about solving a problem, but they don't jump into entrepreneurial ride because they don't have fire in their belly. So it's very important to have that risk-taking ability. And the reason why I said, for me, male and female entrepreneurship is same because this anatomy doesn't change whether you are a male entrepreneur or a female entrepreneur. You need to have all three of them to get into entrepreneurship successfully. Now, one more important thing that we have to remember that although we have knowledge, passion, or fire, we cannot jump into entrepreneurship C because it's very risky. So to de-risk yourself from getting burnt into that fire, you have to be prepared. And I quote a line from Louis Pasteur when he said, chance favors the prepared mind. That means if you are prepared, then only the chance will come to you and you will be successful. If you look at this slide, I'm just trying to tell you that how Indian ecosystem of startup is evolving. These are not all by women entrepreneurs, but we have more than 30 unicorns in this country. And what is meant by unicorn? Unicorn means it's a business which has more than $1 billion in turnover, $1 billion in valuation. So we have more than 30 unicorn, and the ecosystem is getting heated up. We keep listening about what is startup. We keep talking about इसने startup कर लिया, उसने startup कर लिया. What is exactly the startup? Now I'm moving to the second part of my talk. Startup क्या होता है? Now people come. I mean, when I was in Aurangabad, they would come to me and say, "Sir, मला startup करायचंय." I would say, "Baba, मला सांग तू startup काय exactly?" And they say, okay, I want to start a business of making paper plates. And then I would say, boss, yeah, you want to get into business, you want to become an entrepreneur, but that's not startup. A startup needs an innovative concept. Okay, try to understand. When there is something new that you are trying to do which others have not done in a different, or something that is done by others but you are trying to do in a different way, then it is called startup and you qualify under startups. And there are many grants and money that is given to startup for the simple reason is that this is a new path. This path has not been taken by anybody else. So nobody knows what will be the journey. So it's important to support that journey when you move on the startup phase. Okay. So let me go to the next one then. It looks like the slides are stuck. I will, yeah, it's there. So when you get into a startup is a temporary organization which is designed to search for a repeatable, scalable business model. So these two words are very, very important: repeatable and scalable business model. Okay, let me move to the next slide again. Okay, so before while the slide keeps moving, let me go to the next slide. So how to create a startup? You would say, sir, this is nice. This is theory. I mean, you need to have a business which is repeatable and scalable. But how do we want to build this startup? So building a startup is a multi-step process and it is an iterative process. Okay. What is meant by iterative means it is not that the first time you may create a startup, you will be successful. That means you will create something, you will validate something, and then you will come back and revisit your drawing board and see that how can I do differently. So there are typically 5 steps. The first step is idea. Now we have to be very, very clear when we say idea, because most of the times what we have is we only have a wish list. It is not an idea. Okay. I want to do XYZ thing is a wish. But when you say that I want to do XYZ thing because I have this expertise, I have access to this resource, this is going to be my plan. And if I execute this plan, this is going to be a profitability coming out of it. Then it is an idea. Okay. So it's very, very important that you have an idea. So what is a good idea? An idea which is based on a very strong addressal of unmet need is a good idea. Okay. So let me give you some examples and elaborate. When I define idea, how do we look at it as a person sitting across the table? Whenever you approach us with an application for grant or application for money to create a startup or an entry into incubation center, we first thing we look at that whether there is really a need of this. Do we really have a problem that needs to be solved? So there is a situation, there are normally situations where there is a need which is not met today. So there is a problem that exists, but which is not solved yet. So that is one. That is very, very novel idea. Second, there is a problem, the solution exists. Okay, there is a problem, but the solution exists, but solution is not foolproof. That means it is not adequate. So आपको क्या करना है? There is an opportunity to improve upon that. So that's the second type of need that we look at. The third thing is that there is a problem existing. There is a solution existing which is a foolproof. That means it can solve a problem, but it has not reached to people because of certain elements like scale or certain elements like putting the right kind of cost. So that is also an opportunity to solve. So if you look at Indian pharma companies, what they did was the third type of innovation. That means there was a need for pharmaceutical worldwide. There were American or European companies producing these pharmaceuticals, but they were not affordable. And that's where Indian pharma companies came and they said, okay, let me start addressing this need. So that's an idea. Now, once you identify a problem, then you need to build a business model. Now, this is another issue. So when people come to us with the proposal, many times there is no clear-cut definition of idea, but the second problem is more prevalent. That is, they have not identified how is that I'm going to take this idea to customer. We are only familiar with business model where we say that मैं इसको बना के बेचूंगा. I will manufacture and sell. But there are different ways to reach to the customers, right? There are models like franchising or हर टाइप के बिजनेस को you need to have a different kind of model, right? So if McDonald had decided that I will only manufacture burger and sell to the entire world, he would have never reached to other parts of the world, because he chose the franchise model. He could reach to everybody. Indian IT companies service based model. So we said we will be cost efficient, but we will serve you. Indian pharma companies manufacturing model, but cost efficient. There are companies like Intel or Microsoft, they are built on royalty model. That means they said कि मैं सिर्फ innovation करूंगा और उसका मैं royalty लूंगा. So it's very very important कि आपका जो business होगा उसके लिए आपका business model क्या है. उसके बाद important चीज ये है कि whatever you are doing should have a size. Otherwise you will again become a solopreneur. आप छोटा सा entrepreneur बन के रह जाएंगे. You will not be able to create a big businesses, which I gave you as an example before, right? So there has to be size for that opportunity. That means you have to do market research and see how big is this problem. If I solve this, how many takers will be there for this solution? Then when you have done this part, the first 2.5 part is theory. You can do it on the drawing board. You can sit in your office and study. You can have insight and you can build that. But remaining part is in the field. That is practice. You have to reach to the field and you have to evaluate your customer. So the most important part is then customer discovery. Customer discovery happens in the field, and it happens when a solution or a prototype that you have developed, you take it to the customer and say, "Bhai, isko jara use karke batao." Is that a customer discovery? No, that's not a customer discovery. That's only a customer evaluation. Customer discovery is when a customer says, "Yeah, this is solving my problem, and I am willing to use it. You tell me how much it costs." So only when a customer is willing to pay to you, he becomes a customer, and that is customer discovery. Then the customer uses your product repeatedly, and then he validates your product, and most of the time he comes back and say that कि sir ये इतना part अच्छा है, but ये part ठीक नहीं है. Change this part for me. You again go back to drawing board. You again try to work around it. You also see that ये नया feature जो मैं introduce कर रहा हूँ, इसको नया opportunity क्या है, and that this process continues. So that's the process of creating startup. There are a lot of trends emerging in the country, and this, let me tell you, this is once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. I'm repeating, this is once in a lifetime kind of opportunity for a country like India, because each and every country goes through a cycle of demographics. We have seen this happening in US, and then we have seen happening this in Japan. There was a 10 years period when Japan grew more than double digit in their growth. Then the growth left Japan and it came to China or Korea. Now there was a 30-year period when China grew more than 11% in their economy. Okay. So once those 30 years are over, now China is never going to see that kind of growth phenomenon. So their numbers for growth have dropped from 12% to 6% now, and now it's never going to go back to 12% again. Every country has its own time, and this is India's time. This is your opportunity to start your new businesses, because there is so much of requirement in this country. There's so much of consumption in this country. So it's a very, very important trend. Then the prevailing lifestyles are changing, and those are also throwing certain challenges in terms of addressing diseases. The requirements on affordable healthcare. People are looking more from a personalized solutions. So it could be treatment, it could be even your user experience, but they wanted it personalized now, thanks to the mobile phone revolution we have this in this country. We have new technologies from 4G to 5G, and from 5G we are reaching to artificial intelligence and robotics and whatnot, blockchain, and so many things are there. Then there are digital platforms for reach. Had there been no geo revolution, or had there been no internet revolution, we would not have so connected. So this platform, through this Zoom, I am reaching to all of you. So these are digital platforms available for reach. So if you have bright ideas, you can reach to millions of people in no time. There are Google, there are Instagram, there are WhatsApp, and there are whatnot. I mean, there's every possible platform available for you to reach to your target customers. And then the trend about entrepreneur wave is also going on. So I meet a lot of people, and there are many parents, they come to me and say that my son wants to set up this entrepreneurship. I typically meet both kinds of people. So I met somebody in my 3 years back. She was from IIT. Her child was from IIT, and the lady mother was telling me that Sir, now everybody is doing enterprise here, and why does my son wants to go overseas? Please talk to him and explain him that what are the opportunities in India. I don't want to send him to US. Whereas when I am in Aurangabad or in smaller cities, I see other kind of people. So there are students who wants to start their enterprise, and their parents come to me and say, sir, ये entrepreneurship वगैरह सब ठीक है आप जैसे लोगों के लिए, why ये बच्चों को अभी इसमें क्यों पढ़ना चाहिए? क्योंकि they have a career, and according to them, they don't think that entrepreneurship is a career. For them, नोकरी धरली आणि धंद्यात पडला. That means when you take a job, you are safe. When you are in a business, you are at risk, and they don't want their children to get into the businesses. While we have different kinds of thoughts here, but I've shown you a picture that we have more than 30 unicorns in this country, and there are more than 30 soon to be unicorns. That means the people who are in the 500 million to $1 billion kind of valuation. So this wave is unreturnable. There are more and more people who are going to join this entrepreneurial wave. What is very, very important is in a country like us, we have just three problems. I call as AAA problem. The AAA problem is that we have not many problems, but we don't have solution available. Okay, we don't have solutions available. Another thing is we have problems, but the solutions we don't have accessibility because most of them are developed in other part of the world. And the third thing is affordability, and that's where we get stuck. There are solutions available, but they are not affordable. So you have to identify what is it that you are going to solve when you get into the entrepreneurship wave. The last part of my talk, and I don't want to complete my talk without telling you about what is getting developed in Aurangabad for all of you. This is the setup that where I used to sit. It's Bajaj Incubation Center in the campus of BAMU. And this is a fantastic place that is evolving. Okay. This is the incubation center that has been set up with the help of Bajaj, who has identified that in this region, we need to have a centralized system which will take care of addressing problems of the region. And this incubation center is conceptualized based on that. I'm not going to take you through this vision and mission, all of this, but the system that is evolving there is extremely entrepreneur-centric system. At least till I was there, I was focusing on that building that way. What we do is we look at the technology platform that exists in our region. So this could be things like IT, computer science, artificial intelligence. We have nanotechnology set up there. We have biotechnology companies, food processing technologies in our region. All of that, take it and then try to address, solve the problems that exist in our region. And our problems that exist in our region is food and nutritional security, water and sanitation, clean energy, affordable healthcare, transportation related problem, and industrial automation. And we do it with collaboratively, and we bring all the stakeholders together in AIC Vamo Foundation, which is a Section 8 company initiated in Bajaj Incubation Center, which is the running company that runs this. So for your information, this center is not run by university. This is run as a company, which has a very, very dedicated staff and a board member. It has a fantastic infrastructure. So it's a 10,000 square foot facility. It provides workstation to people who wants to set up their businesses. They have a pre-incubation block. There is a dedicated Wi-Fi setup in the setup. There is a conference room, overhead projectors, and all the facilities are there. There is a dedicated library dedicated to entrepreneurship and IPR. This is besides access to the main central library of BAMU. This is very dedicated and focused library that is getting evolved. It will have a separate accounting block. So the companies, those are present in this incubation center, will also get support in terms of accounting. So for some of you who don't know what is the concept of incubation, incubation word comes from medical field. So that means when the child is born and it is not fit to survive outside, त्याला काचेच्या पेटीत ठेवतात. We keep it in the glass box, right, to give a protected environment. This is the same concept. So whenever there is a new enterprise born, it cannot go out and compete outside. So we bring them in a controlled environment where we oversee its operation. We help shaping these organizations. And then at the end of 2 or 3 years, when they are fit to grow, we send them out from incubation center. So that's the broad concept. And this is a setup that is evolving in your city, Aurangabad. We provide all kind of support. And the idea is that the entrepreneur should focus on developing his idea and should not be worried about कि अरे अभी account का filing करने का है, income tax किधर file करने का है. ये एग्रीमेंट कैसा साइन करने का है, एग्रीमेंट कैसे बनाएंगे, आईपी फाइल करना है तो कहाँ जाना है, काम करना है तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में इन्वेस्ट करना है या नहीं करना है. All that setup is provided in the incubation center. We evaluate companies on different stages. So these are companies at ideation stage, POC stage, pre-incubate stage, validate, accelerate, and then we connect them to industry outside. But at each stage, there's a different requirement and the center helps them. This is adequately funded. So the initial money came from university. They gave us 25 lakh rupees to set up this center. Initially, it was an idea, and then the Bajaj Group committed 1.5 crore for construction of the building. Then we got grant last year from Atal Incubation Center, which is Niti Aayog Government of India. They have promised to pay 10 crore rupees over 5 years. So 2 crore rupees every year will be given for entrepreneurs for our region. And then we also got 5 crore rupees approved from Maharashtra State Innovation Society. The point I'm showing this is that there are multiple agencies involved and they are beyond only giving money. So when you are part of Atal Incubation Center, you are part of 200 other similar incubators under Atal umbrella. So anything that you need, you can always reach to that network and say that I have this innovation. Is there a taker in that network? So that's the great advantage of being part of this incubation center. It has a very professional board. So it is led by the vice chancellor of the university, de facto. Whoever comes to that position will be there. Then a pro vice chancellor, then some local people involved there. And then there's some seasoned businessmen. So you heard this name, CP Tripathi, who was a president of Bajaj. And because of his effort, whatever we see Bajaj today in Aurangabad happened. So he's a part of the board, and his commitment is that we have given you an initial money of 1.5 crore, but if you people really do a good job, we are willing to invest up to 25 crore if you people show the progress. Then there is Satish Kagliwal, who is the chairman of Nath Group, and he is there in every board meeting. I'm very proud when we talk about these people because they are really very big shot people. These are the people represent very big business houses. They are always busy, but they participate in board meetings in decision making. Then Mohini Kelkar is there. She is again a woman entrepreneur from your region. She clubbed with her husband and created a company which you people should be proud of. Is the Indian company which sells machine to China. Have you heard about this kind of examples? Very rare, right? We import everything from China, but grindmasters have shown that with competition, with our competitiveness and with our focus on technology, we can be competitive even against China. And that's the business from Aurangabad, homegrown business. They acquired businesses in Germany, they acquired businesses in US, they acquired business in China, and they're running company from Aurangabad, a very own example of woman entrepreneurship, what is possible. And then, although I've left the university now, but I'm part of this board and I take pleasure in interacting with startups yet. I help them shaping, and that's my contribution to the society there. Then we have a very strong advisory board, and I'm not going to go through all these names. Some of them are familiar with you. Some of them you might not be familiar, but these are very prestigious names and those are associated with this center. I told you this center is run as a company, so it has its own organization structure. You would have seen an advertisement for CEO post in the newspaper, and there's some other positions under filling at this point of time. We have a pipeline of 14 companies I mentioned to you, and some of them are commercially viable companies. So I would like to quote you an example of Exxon Batteries. There is a gentleman called Shubham Patil who came to us year and a half before with just an idea saying, sir, I can make lithium ion battery and I want to do a startup. How can you help us? And it was a very, very exciting story. I mean, we spent so many months thinking about what could be the right model, what could be the right customer segment that we should be targeting. And we went a lot of ups and downs when we went through this journey. So first product that we did, we said that we will do inverters based on lithium ion battery because the normal lead acid batteries are very heavy and they are getting consumed very fast. So if you have a lithium ion battery, the life of this inverter will be 6 years as compared to 3 years on the regular acid lead batteries. We developed the product. We could sell only 2 inverters like that because when you put lithium ion battery, the cost goes up. So even though there is a value, but the users of inverters are more on rural side than on the urban side. We had our own piece of learning and we said, oh, this is not going to go up. Let's do something else. And then we came up with an idea that why don't we create a battery for automobile? it was a tough ask, and that's why we didn't took it first time. We said that we'll do a simple product. But when we said that there is no other way left than doing batteries, electric batteries for electric scooter, we clicked there. We found an old scooter in Aurangabad where we fitted this battery. My colleague Nivrutti Gajbare, who is a center manager there in the Bajaj incubation, he sat beside just to make sure that this battery works effortlessly. We went the entire city on that vehicle, and then we were convinced that yes, we have a product. Then the question was to scale this up. And let me tell you, despite of all the fundings and grants, those are available, but each one of them come with its own restrictions. We were not able to generate 2 lakh rupees. We went bank to bank to get this 2 lakh rupees. Finally, one of the Pata Sanstha gave us money. And those 2 lakh rupees was our initial seed capital for this entrepreneur. I'm proud to mention that he does turnover of 30 lakhs now every month. Okay, and this is a grown story right in this incubation center in front of all of you. Some of you, like people like Fazar Maruki and other people, you might have met them, these guys. So there are 14 startups at this point of time, and we expect this number will keep growing. We conduct a lot of programs, so be part of that program. What is important is that we do a lot of hand holding. So we help you developing your business plan, and the business plan includes everything. So executive summary, product and idea technology. We help sharpening your team profiles. We help you identifying markets and competition in the market. We also look at what are the barriers to entry when you get to this business. We look at what should be your patent strategy. We advise you on marketing and distribution. How should you reach to the market? We sit beside you, helping you to cross every possible hurdle that exists in your business journey through incubation center. We typically track these startups on 4 dimensions: product, finance, people, and market. And then there are several sub dimensions under that, and we make sure that they succeed. One thing that I have not told you so far is that what is the magic formula if you want to be a successful entrepreneur? I'm going to take an example from some other field, but it is an apt for you to understand. So once a famous basketball player, Magic Jordan, was interviewed. Magic Jordan is like the last name in basketball. And when he was interviewed, the question asked was, why do you think you became so successful? At the retirement, somebody asked you this question. It's a very, very challenging question to answer, right? And the answer given by him is very appropriate when we talk about entrepreneurship here as a whole. So he said, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. 26 times I have been trusted to take a game-winning shot for my team, and I missed that. I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeeded. I think cultivation of this attitude is extremely important to be a successful entrepreneur, and we teach them into incubation centers. I have been speaking for more than 45 minutes now, so I will stop here. I would say thank you for all of you for patient listening. And now I would like to take some questions because I have another appointment coming up, so I will be leaving after this session. But my best wishes to all of you. And I think Rathod sir is there, is going to cover a lot for you. So thank you very much. Any questions, I'll be very glad to answer.
Yes. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
At the outset, a very big thank you to Vyas sir for sparing his valuable time and being a phenomenal and taking us through this phenomenal journey, I would say. And summing up these all 3 segments into one talk was truly a Herculean task, and I suppose Vyas sir has done very well. At the same, I also feel a bit regretting that we could only provide with this much of time, and I look forward to request Principal Sir to have a complete workshop as such, as far as incubation and ideation is concerned. So that, of course, I expect and I hope that Vyas Sir would be equally ready to cooperate as he did this time as well.
Yeah, we'll have to work out a time, but yes.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
There are a couple of questions that we have. There's Muhammad Tariq, who has asked 2-3 questions summed up.
Mm-hmm.
What, according to you, are the top challenges and problems faced by women entrepreneurs in India?
Okay.
So
So
I'll take a one after the other. So, huh?
sure, sure. So this is an interesting question. So I will generalize this question and then I come to the woman part of it. The real challenge with most of us is to identify the right problem to solve. Okay. I mean, I've got hundreds and hundreds of proposals as a part of DBT committee member, and many of them. Where we fail is to identify what is the exact problem that we are trying to solve, right? It cannot be a copy of somebody else's idea. I mean, we get so many ideas which are copied. What I'm saying is that it could also be a similar idea, but you have to have at least a different way of doing the things. For example, Ola did a very successful venture. So it's not that Ola is the original idea. There was a Uber existing in the Western world, but the customization that Ola did in this country is phenomenal, right? So we should have something different to bring to the table when we get into the startup world. So that's one thing. Second problem is that many of the ideas that they come mainly from technology side. So people likes to talk about the product that they have. People likes to talk about the technology that they have developed without understanding what is exactly the customer need. How do you connect to customer need? There can be a great thing you have developed, but you're not able to package it in the type of a package which is usable by an end customer. You will never be successful. So that's the second part. Third part is the funding part. Especially when I worked in Aurangabad, I realized that for many of us, getting our daily bread was the bigger challenge rather than getting into entrepreneurship and do. And people used to come very bright student to us, but then they said, "Sir, I can run with this idea only for 3-4 months. 3-4 months के बाद में मेरा यूनिवर्सिटी में स्टे खत्म हो जाएगा और फिर मैं कहाँ जाके रहूंगा और मेरे घर वाले चाहते हैं कि मैं पहले पैसे अर्न करूं." So this is really a challenge, and then we have to, as an ecosystem, we have to solve these challenges. So that's the first part of the answer. To answer the second part of the question that you have asked, typical issues about women entrepreneurship, right? Yeah, I know a lot can be talked on the social structure that we have in this country. We have a male-dominated society. We have issues about being open and discussing things. But some of the examples that I shown you today, I mean, will give you confidence that it's possible to do, provided that you are perseverant. I mean, you have to really pursue your dream. If you are passionate and if you pursue, all the obstacles can come up. I mean, you can overcross them. I mean, so the many problems that I quoted you earlier can also be a problem for women entrepreneur. But social is really an issue for us. I understand that. But then if you decide, I mean, we have an Padma Shri from our region. This is an old lady, and imagine, I mean, when she was not able to speak English, how could she created this germ bank, germplasm bank, and that germplasm bank is been referred by everybody around the world. When she can't speak even English as a language, it's possible. What I'm trying to say is that there will be a lot many obstacles, but the message that I want to give you is that don't think about obstacles. Think about how will you take it to the success. I mean, that is very important. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
There is another question from the same person. In Startup India, are there any specific policies or schemes for women as such?
It's a very good question. So now the Startup India campaign is predominantly led by Atal Innovation Mission, which is under Niti Aayog. Okay, which is Government of India arm think tank. Actually, that think tank decide what we should do in India, and even Startup India is the main important flag in their hand. Last year, they launched specialized incubator scheme for women entrepreneurs. And one example there is She Hub. So there is a We Hub and there is a She Hub in Hyderabad, where it is for the women entrepreneurs. And I'm sure there are many other incubators coming up to address women entrepreneurship related issues in this. But as I said, I mean, there are schemes, there are a lot of fundings available, there are banks available, but all of them will come to your help only when you stand on your feet. What I mean is that you have identified a problem, you have developed a solution, and you say, okay, now I want to make it big, come and help me. If you go only with the raw idea, none of them will help you actually in terms of money. I mean, they will help you in terms of guidance. There are a lot of agencies that help. But when you ask for money, that means your preparedness should be there. You should be ready to even pitch your concept to them, make them understand how big this opportunity can be, what will be the returns for a person who is putting money into you. So all those questions need to be addressed, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sir, another question here comes up as these incubation centers you have been associated with for quite a good span of time. What is your personal experience regarding the participation of males coming to the incubation center with their project or with their ideas as such?
Fantastic question, and I'm going to take some time elaborating the answer to this. Okay, and I'm going to share you my learnings when I was in Aurangabad. It's not that I'm associated with startup incubation system only in Aurangabad. I've been through this journey since 2006. I was part of NCL Venture Center, and it was set up along with other people. Uh, what has been observed in our region is that uh, uh, we have bright ideas. Okay, uh, we have lot many problems that needs to be solved. Our problems will not be solved by IITians. IITians are busy
Mm.
solving problems of Americans because they get funding from them. Okay, so we have to start identifying our own problems for our region, right? So it could be about nutrition. We have a food as a major problem. We have agriculture as a major problem. What is my experience is that people try to copy successful models which are very decorative in the field. They don't really target the real problems that we have, whether it is female or male entrepreneurs. Then they come to me. So that's the first part. Second part is when I interact with female entrepreneurs, and this is also typical in our region. I have not seen this in Bombay or Pune. When I interact with entrepreneurs from that region, you start from a very disadvantageous position saying that I am a female and how I will approach and how I will do this. Remove this from your head. I mean, the moment you have it in your head, you're not going to compete with people outside. It's an open field. You have to go and compete with people from the developed region. So take this out of your head and say that, yes, I have a bright problem to be solved. I have a brilliant idea. I think I have a competence. Let me go and solve this. This is very, very important. So, I mean, this is the main message. I mean, don't start from disadvantageous position. You have in it you have to be firm and confident. You will be able to conquer the world. You have an example, right? Gave you an example just now. A business from Aurangabad acquiring companies in Germany and China. Isn't it proud? Had
Yes.
they started with the position that I am here in Aurangabad, smaller city, we don't have access to funding, how will I do? They would have never done it, right? So please believe in yourself. That's the important message. All other things can be solved. I mean, it's possible to solve them.
Thank you very much, sir. And just one last question to sum up. This comes from Dr. Aditi Bhattacharya.
Yeah,
What message would you like to give to educational institutions as far as contributing towards development of women entrepreneurs?
that's also a very, very good question. Let me give it. So, our educational institute, whether they are in a smaller cities or a larger cities, for us the first priority is conducting exams. Okay, so पहले exam लो, pass करो, student admit करो, pass करो. This has been what we have been doing it for ages, and we are tuned to do that for ages, and that is not going to help us in a great way, especially with the way the world is moving. Okay, so we have to understand now we work in a different context. Our roles have changed. So when 100 years back, the role of an education institute was to impart knowledge which is existing. Okay, then if you look at last 50 years, the role has changed. The role has changed from an institution that imparts knowledge to an institution that creates new knowledge. So you are expected to generate grants, you are expected to generate research fundings, you are expected to do research and publish papers so that you create new knowledge. So your role has changed from that. And now we are entering into the era where there's a lot of knowledge that has been created, but it has not taken to the society. So the role has to be, how do we leverage the knowledge that is already existing within our ecosystem? May that be student, may that be a faculty, may that be an employee who is not from academics, but is an employee in the academic system. And we have to give him a platform to make use of knowledge which is already created and create wealth from it for the society. If we solve problems of society, wealth is automatically created. So that's the important message. We have to be cognizant about how the world is changing, how the system is evolving, and how do we take advantage of this situation. That's the key message I would like to give on this occasion.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to Ashfaq, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh Vas, sir, for your beautiful and elaborative lecture on entrepreneurship of women, and Dr. Aparna Saraf, ma'am. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. B.V. Rathod, sir, for the
Uh,
next session, and I request Dr. Santosh, sir, if he's busy, so he can leave the session.
so I was going to say that thank you everybody. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Varuki sir and everybody. Hope to connect with you again soon. All the best on this occasion. See you all. Bye bye. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye bye. Bye.
Now, I request, yeah, Arif Padan, sir. Now, I request our second orator for this webinar on women entrepreneurship, opportunities and challenges, Mr. B.V. Rathod, sir, to address. Before that, I would like to request Dr. Sheikh Sadiq Ali, sir, to please introduce our second orator for this webinar.
Hello. Ashfaq sir, am I
Yeah,
audible?
you're audible, sir. Please proceed,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Hello and welcome again. Good afternoon to one and all. Now we are going to start second session of this webinar. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the speaker of this session, respected B.V. Rathod sir. He has completed his bachelor degree in electric engineering. Then he has completed MBA, DBM, and DMM. He is a retired additional director of industries in Directorate of Industries, Government of Maharashtra. He has a huge experience regarding industrial development projects. He was Assistant Vice President of Training and Employment Activities of SEZ, held in 45 villages of Pen and urban talukas of Raigad district. His research in women in entrepreneurship development in European Union project is truly excellent. He was a part of state government projects entitled number one, self-employment through skill development. Number two, Maharashtra Rural Credit Project of International Fund for Agriculture Development. Third one is Rice Net Project of Maharashtra. He has designed and successfully implemented assist, uh, projects with assistance of European Union. He secured a new identity to MCED as a self-sufficient institution without government assistance within 2 years. He was a regional head of industrial development in Marathwada and Konkan Revenue Division. Uh, his excellent achievements in industrial development projects are really boundless and countless. But as the time is overshooting, therefore, now I would like to request respected B.V. Rathod sir to address the webinar. Over to B.V. Rathod sir.
Sir, please unmute.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the organizing committee, Dr. Maulana Azad College, Honorable Principal, and the staff members in this college. This is the second occasion where I am visiting this college for entrepreneurship development. I thank Dr. Vas. He has made my job very easy and simple. He has rightly given us the demographic status and also helped us in clarifying in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. what has attracted me more is the anatomy of entrepreneurs, which he has narrated very nicely. I think that is very important as far as our today's session is concerned. Before we go to the subject, I would like to give the recent development. There is a Bangalore Tech Summit which is going on in Bangalore, and the Doyens of Industries in its inaugural session have given some hints about the opportunities for the entrepreneurship in general. And I think these hints are also applicable to the women entrepreneurship. Mr. Mahindra has said that the speed of society, it has opened up large number of cutting edge opportunities. He has explained to identify 3 I's. What to identify is home diagnostic kits to identify the disease. Represents integrate biology, IT, and range of technology. Third I represents the and impact. But what happens is the lack of self-belief to invest in ourselves and take the risk. I think this is very important as far as women entrepreneurship is concerned. That is to invest in ourselves and take a risk. I think this point was also narrated by Dr. Vas. The second dignitary in the inaugural session was Kiran Mimlar Shah, of which the reference was given by Dr. Vas. And the third was Krish Gopal Krishnan. He is the co-founder of Infosys. He said that alluded to the resilience of technology sector in a year when digital technology system had to be rapidly deployed. And we have seen experience in this pandemic situation how this technology has helped us in overcoming the calamity. I think I have, as far as the opportunities to women entrepreneurship is concerned, this is the base to think of what exact opportunities are there to the women entrepreneurs. Dr. Vas has told us the difference between entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. And while giving clarification, he said that entrepreneur means anything which somebody does wherever he is in an innovative way, systematically and scientifically. If we go by this definition, I think all the women, whether they are doing the domestic chores, they are also entrepreneur in my opinion. Because a lady managing home, he actually exhibits all modern managerial skills while managing the home. For example, preparing food, not only preparing food, but maintaining the inventory for preparing the food. Then preparing the child going to the school, giving service to everybody in time, that is time management, keeping the house very neat and clean. All these aspects, I think, indicates her managerial capabilities. So in my view, all the women working in domestic issues, they are all the entrepreneur, and they can all be a successful entrepreneurs as well. Before we go, I will also like to share some of the successful entrepreneurs. One of the lady from Pune, she with the help of the incubator center in MIT has developed 3 products in this lockdown period. One of the product is very useful for the knee pain. Few people were advised to replacement of the knees, but they have used this solution which is developed by this lady, and they got the relief from the pain. And the second product which she has developed is about the substitute to tobacco. This is again a Ayurvedic product. With the help of some herbs, she has produced it without nicotine, so there are no side effects. And of course, although all those effects of nicotine will not be there after consuming this particular product. So such type of entrepreneurs actually, they have utilized this period of lockdown for materializing their ideas into entrepreneurial ventures. There are so many examples. I was actually asked to deliberate on the opportunities for women entrepreneurs. So I can list out the types of products and the services which a woman can take up. And then actually the list is just illustrative, and it is not exhaustive. So rather than reading that list, what I will like to share with you is telling one product may not be suitable to all of you who are actually participating in this webinar. Anything actually which is taken up by a person, if he does it successfully and proves it economical product, then he becomes an entrepreneur. There are actually 3 particular sectors in which a person can show his entrepreneurial skill. And those 3 sectors are, one is business, then the second is the services sector, and the third one is actually the manufacturing sector. We have listened 4 examples which Dr. Vas has given us, and those 4 examples, actually out of those 4 examples, 2 examples were of manufacturing nature. First is of Kiran Mujumdar Shah, and I think second was about the innerwears which a lady is manufacturing. Other 2 examples were of service type of category, that is of beauty parlor and such types of services. So anybody venturing in these 3 categories, these 3 sectors, will be called as an entrepreneur. That is business, services sector, or the manufacturing sector. To venture in all these 3 categories, again I will refer to Dr. Vas' lecture, where he has said the anatomy of entrepreneur, and all these actually qualities which he has indicated, most importantly about the passion and the fire in the belly. These anatomy and the qualities all are referring to a personal traits of a person. So this is very important. So what exactly happens in our society is we venture into an activity which is seen as going well. We see just around, if somebody is, say, doing beauty parlor and earning a lot, then definitely a lady who has seen it, she also feels that, yeah, well, this seems to be a very good activity, and I should not venture in this particular activity. Like that, we like to copy what others are doing. So instead of that, what I feel is, I think we should look inwardly. That is a personal introspection. So how we do that personal introspection is by the SWOT analysis. If you can see this, if it is visible, in this SWOT analysis, what we do is the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. So a person needs to see what exactly the strengths he or he is having. When we are talking of the women entrepreneurship, we will only refer to her strengths. Women entrepreneurs actually have a lot of challenges. They need support from their house. Then they have to look after the responsibility of children and other members of the family. They are not exposed to the external world and approaching to various offices for various permissions, etc. So all these challenges and limitations are there for women. Not only this, if a woman wants to venture into an activity and she approaches bank, then we have experienced the banks have posed very ridiculous questions like what will happen if suppose you are not with this family? What will happen to our credit which we are extending to you? Who is guarantor? And sometimes if the lady is not married and wants to venture into that activity, then a peculiar question which is posed is what will happen to our loan if you get married and just leave this location? So such type of questions are particularly becomes a hurdles to the entrepreneurs who want to venture even before marriages. And after marriages, of course, there are different type of questions, because she is not the karta of the family. And in this situation, definitely what your strengths are, that becomes very important. And if you are focused, if you are, say, if you have passion to do something, then of course, as Dr. Vas has given us a few examples, I have so many examples with me. I have just given you one more example of a lady from Pune. In lockdown period, how she had come out of the new products out of the say crisis. Likewise, for example, we can give an example of a small person who was earlier doing a painting job before lockdown, had to be closed down. Immediately, the fellow being entrepreneurial, he was having some contacts where he had done a painting work earlier and due on mobile and asked.
Yeah. So I was narrating about the anatomy of an entrepreneur, and in that the passion and the fire which an individual should have. And with reference to that, we'll talking about the SWOT of a person, means the strengths of a person. As far as strengths are concerned, it means which particular activity is a person can be venturing successfully. That she should know. That means if she is very good at designing And if she can design the clothes, the garments, she should actually pursue that particular activity. If she is very good at providing some services like beauticians, etc., she should go for that particular activity. That means a person has to look inward and identify her strengths. And if he or if she particularly likes a particular job, a particular skill, then she should venture in that particular activity. Uh, that helps actually to make that venture a success. Otherwise, there are chances that may pose a problem while running the show. This is first. The second, the particular scale at which she wants to venture. When I say scale, it means the economic investment which she wants to do in that particular business. And what is the source to raise that type of, say, if that business is, say, required to run with the investment of 1 crore, then how much she can bring up her own contribution? If she is just able to bring 10,000 rupees, then it would be very difficult to run a business of 1 crore. So what is our strength in personal contribution? That is very important. Even though there are so many financial schemes, somebody has raised that question as to what are the financial assistance schemes available for women entrepreneurs to venture into activities. There are so many schemes which can be actually dealt and talked about, but that could be a separate session. And those schemes are not only from the central government, but the state government has also come up with some parallel schemes where the financial assistance is available with a contribution of, say, 10 to 15%. And there are special schemes for women in which the contribution up to the extent of 5% personal contribution is required, 5% of the project cost. And when we say project cost involves the investment in land, building, equipment, and the margin money for working capital. So 5% of this total is required initially by an entrepreneur to run the business. Then this business could be of, this venture could be of business type, service type, or manufacturing type of industry. I will just give the difference between what is this business means, services means, and the manufacturing means. Business means a simple trading activity where we bring the goods and just sell it with little or whatever profit we want. So this is just like a grocery shop, for example. It is categorized as a business activity. And the services means where we provide the services, like the chartered accountants, doctors, contractors, beauticians. This is a business type of service, services type of activity. Even making designs and providing such designs to a manufacturer, this is also a services. Or developing a software, that can also be called as a service. So, and the manufacturing means where a raw material is converted into a finished product, that is, use of initial raw material is different when it becomes a final product. For example, from the waste, we manufacture the paper, or from paper, we manufacture the notebooks, or the cosmetics which are required in beauty parlors, or the hair oil, manufacturing of hair oil. That could be a manufacturing activity. Even the assembling of different parts that could be a manufacturing activity. So this is the difference between business, services, and the manufacturing or industrial activities. All these three sectors, whosoever is venturing, that fellow can be called as an entrepreneur. Now, what are really the opportunities to the women entrepreneurs? I already told you that instead of giving you the list, I will like to give you the broad categories where the opportunities are actually existing. And those broad categories are, we probably know that Maslow has given us the hierarchy of needs. And in that hierarchy of needs, these are few hierarchies actually, which I will be just showing you here. But the first one is the physiological need. Second is social need. Third is safety. Fourth is the esteem need. And the last one is the actualization. Now, in this, if we just go briefly, step by step, what are the physiological needs? Whether this is a pandemic situation, lockdown period, or even a normal period, all these needs are there, whatever the situation is. Rather, in this particular critical situation, our needs have increased rather than decreasing. We have limitations of, say, venturing out of our houses. So physiological need means you should have land, building, clothing, then food, and you should have some finance also. These type of needs are there, whichever is, whether it's a woman or a man. So to satisfy these needs and venturing into that particular activity, that becomes a opportunity for a person. Now, second is a social need. And in this social need, due to this pandemic situation, actually a lot of restrictions have come for meeting individually. Earlier, we used to hear that untouchability was a crime. But now this has become a normal life. You cannot touch a person even though he or she is very close to us. So the corona has made us, all of us, untouchable actually. So this type of social need, how that can be removed? This or the social gatherings, which we used to held earlier very frequently, like marriages or our religious functions, there are limitations on this. How we can do that? So these needs are to be addressed through our entrepreneurial venture. And for that, actually, the using the mask, that is also become a social need. We cannot identify a person coming to you because he is wearing mask. We cannot see his face. This has become also very actually a limitation. Then third is a safety need. Now safety is nowadays very important issue as far as this corona is concerned. Even if you venture out of your house, everybody nowadays carries sanitizer. That means you have to keep away from that contagious disease, and you need to be safe. Not only that, but nowadays wearing mask, because there are some droplets where corona viruses are there, particularly if the place is closed, where the air is not flowing and only ACs are there, and you cannot move. There the droplets of this air droplets can carry the coronavirus. So there you need special type of safety equipments like that. And even while walking on the road, apart from this corona, you have to be more cautious and see that you are safe while traveling. So all this actually gives us many opportunities how we can keep ourselves safe and also safe to our dependents. So that gives opportunities like medicines, manufacturing medicines, clothing, then safety from environment. This type of, for example, if you want to protect yourself from sun or the rain, you need umbrella. So manufacturing an umbrella for particular season becomes an opportunity. And the next one is the esteem need. Esteem need means you want to be successful, you want to create your own identity as a person, and for that you need to do something which is your inner voice actually, that is calling you to do something. And that is where the entrepreneurial actually skill is involved. So all these needs which Maslow has narrated becomes an opportunity. I have just narrated the example. You have to think on your own that in all these particular segments, which are particular activities where I can venture and be an entrepreneur. So this is the opportunity which I have told that I should be deliberating with you. I have a few examples where the entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs have successfully ventured. I can just read it for you. That will give an idea of doing similar such activities or some different activities. And there are some institutes where you can actually use those forums for taking the help for venturing your activities. There is one guide for women entrepreneurship, that is working space in Gurgaon. Then there is a Women Entrepreneurs League, and that is run by Gupta, GIS Print Board. So that is the short form of that Women Entrepreneurs League. Then there is a networking club which is called as IndiCube, and which is run by Megha Agrawal. Then there is Karya, that is KAARYAH. This is run by Nidhi Agrawal. It is a fundraising institute. This gives the funds to the women entrepreneurs. Then there is AWFIS, that is Amit Rumani. It also gives similar help to women entrepreneurs. At Bengaluru, there is HIVE, HIVE. They also help women entrepreneurs. At Government of India level, there is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and they have National Skill Development Corporation, which have so many schemes for women entrepreneurs. We have heard from Dr. Vas, the business incubating centers. Most engineering colleges nowadays have this type of incubating centers, apart from what we have in Dr. Baba Sahib Maratha University here in Aurangabad. We have CMIA as a industry association at Aurangabad. They are also having an incubation center in industrial area at Vaduz. At Central Human Development Ministry, there are so many online courses from where you can reskill yourself. That is, if our original knowledge is not sufficient for venturing out in any activity, you can acquire new skills. I have given you a simple example of a person who was doing earlier a painting, then later on went into grocery, and not only providing physically the grocery, but he started the online delivery of those groceries. So how to do that online grocery services? Such type of skills we need to be imbibe, acquire, if we do not have those skills. So when I refer to strengths, we have to see if we are lacking skills, then can we increase? If we have that weakness, that I do not have that particular skill, how you can acquire the skill? Can you join some course, online course nowadays, remaining at home in the lockdown period. There are a few of my friends from Waluj industrial area. They had to close down the factory. And one of my friend, he actually learned the accounting system, which earlier he used to actually get it done from outside. And for that job, he was paying some uh, money to that person. But during the lockdown, the fellow learned to maintain the accounts. Also, he also learned to submit various returns. For example, the returns which are submitted regularly to excise department, the returns submitted to the sales tax department. So these returns also were actually causing headache pain. So he learned that particular skill of submitting the online returns, how to maintain the accounts. And that has helped him a lot. Now he's saving that much amount when lockdown is open, and now he has started the factory. He's not paying any money on that. So such type of skills, actually, if you are stuck up with some idea, you have to acquire new skills. And there are actually so many online courses where you can take the advantage of learning the skill and upgrade yourself. So reskilling actually has become a new job. Online tuitions are there. Online classes, so many schools are now running the online classes. So to develop the tutorials for such classes, that becomes a new opportunity for a person. Now, developing such tutorial also needs some skill. That means you should have original knowledge with us to develop such tutorials. Then can only you. So if you do not have that knowledge, how to acquire that knowledge and say increase your strength. So you can turn your weaknesses into the strengths and venture into an activity. I think such type of opportunities are there for any person in her life, and she can use those opportunities. And now, as far as threats are concerned, there are so many threats. We should not talk about the threats, but on this particular occasion, we should only stress on the strengths. If we are able to identify your strengths and identify the weaknesses, convert those weaknesses into the strengths, and grab that opportunity. I think that becomes a first step for a person to go in entrepreneurship. There is one lady, and she has one link, that is missmalini.com, and her name is Malini Agrawal. She developed a self-care content like beauty, dance, and fitness. All these three areas she has learned in this period of lockdown. These are all the stories actually has appeared in Economic Times. They are lauding these people who has actually utilized this particular hurdle and made it opportunity to venture in their activities. Then there is one more, Tribe, GIRTRIB. This is online space where women talks their own difficulties, their own personal issues. And this lady is particularly in fast fashion, organic foods, and dining. And this is also developed recently when the lockdown period was there. Then there is Sairi Chahal, SAIRE Chahal. She is CEO and founder of Heroes. We have heard the word heroes. Now she says even a woman can be a hero, but she is called that as a Chero, CHEROES. So you can contact her also for any help. Then there is Vanshika Goeka. She is a CEO and founder for Kul Kanya. This is a marketplace which provides marketing to new women entrepreneurs for their products, and also provides online career in networking space. Then there is ET, Economic Times Women's Forum discussions on, and you can have login to Sisterhood of Women. This is very important forum where women entrepreneurs are those particular new persons, they can actually utilize this particular facility and help themselves. There are actually opportunities like in handicrafts, like the imitation jewelries, then mental health care issues, jewelry designing, home decoration, etc. So opportunities are, so many opportunities are there, and women particularly have a special type of biological setup which men's do not have. It is said that women, they can utilize their both the hemispheres of, that is left and right. That capability is not available for men. So while doing one particular activity, she also keeps eye on a second activity which is going on, which is very much required in entrepreneurial venture, which men is not having. And I have seen in my career that the Sikh industrial number of Sikh industrial units which are ventured by women are very less compared to the Sikh industrial units which are ventured by men. The reasons may be the soft skills which generally women have as a God's gift to them, like interpersonal relationship or the communication skills or the negotiation skills. If you do not have all those skills, you can utilize the period like lockdown period for enhancing these skills. But women generally have inbuilt these type of qualities which she can use for her entrepreneurial venturing career. And I think these skills, if you are, say, utilizing, then you can be a successful entrepreneur. I think if you have any questions, then I would like to answer those questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful talk. Sir, there are few questions.
Yeah.
The question is from Tariq Sheikh, that how will the COVID-19 affect the women entrepreneur, and can it be the turning point for the women entrepreneur in India?
Yeah, I think the entrepreneurship itself is a turning point to not only women but also the men, because this is something new and challenging where you are taking a lot of risk and venturing into an activity, whether it is a business, services, or the industrial type of activity, manufacturing type of activity.
Yes. Ma'am, sir, how do we need to groom a society for providing a visible environment for the women?
I think that this is a very good question, but I think it is addressing to the society's need, and that can start from individual itself, because women is also part of a society. Once she ventures into an activity, as we have now, I have given some examples, and Dr. Vas has also given some examples. These individual persons, they were responsible to change the environment beyond them, with them. They are also the change agents in their society. Now we are giving them their examples to you to motivate you. That is, entrepreneur himself becomes a change agent for changing the society. And we see that all these persons who are venturing into new activity are regarded in the society. So it is said that rather than say changing the society, if a person changes himself, being a part of society, the society will also ultimately get changed.
Yes, sir. Sir, there is again one question from the same person, Sheikh Tariq, that what are the socio-cultural issues for the women entrepreneur in India?
I think this is a
Social
very good question, but for the academicians and the intellectuals who want to do research and the type of uh, university project, this is very good. Socio-economic is a very big issue, but once a person starts contributing for her own family, And family being a part of society, not only the social, but cultural issues which are involved. For example, women, and sir has given us a very good example, Vas sir, about Jyotiba Phule, which one sentence he has given us in Marathi. एक स्त्री सुशिक्षित झाल्यास पूर्ण कुटुंब सुशिक्षित होतं. I think if we go back that particular sentence, if one woman and becomes entrepreneur in the house, complete house actually helps her to become successful in the venture. That means, in a way, everybody starts learning about the entrepreneurship. They need not be given such type of webinars. The particular society, like we have seen in a particular, say, Agrawal, or in, we say, Marwadi community, everyone member of a family from childhood, they start learning the business skills. So that also helps us socially and economically to change. The socio-economic changes happens if one human becomes an entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you suggest some post-COVID pandemic opportunities for the women entrepreneur?
That is what actually I have referred. I can give you a big list, but I have broadly indicated some areas from where you can yourself identify. Because what happens when you identify the product or the service, then it becomes your own brainchild. And once you own that responsibility, that I have identified this, that becomes you are owning the responsibility of making it successful. And if it is told by your parents, for example, I will give you a simple example of my son. When I told him that you have to go to engineering, because I have completed the engineering, I thought that my son also should complete the engineering. He said, no, Papa, I don't like engineering. But then I told him that no, engineers have very opportunity now. You can venture in your own manufacturing industry, or you can be an engineer in some industry. There are so many opportunities, and you can definitely, you have that skill. So this type of actually imbibing on a person, or telling your children or a particular woman that no, you should go for this particular product. For example, if I suggest you to go for making plastic files, which is required in each and every offices, you make the plastic file which is having no investment, at least minimum investment, you can do it. And if you start that, but then selling it becomes very difficult. So it is important to identify the product. I have broadly indicated you the areas where you have the opportunity. Now you have to go into those areas and find out which is suitable to you based on your own strengths and weaknesses. If you find that manufacturing say a cell phone, it would be a very big investment actually. But if you can invest that much amount, I think there are so many cell phone components also which are not made in India. Now we are importing it. So many companies which have come here, like iPhone, they are getting it assembled. So the components and the industries and the opportunities, there are a lot of many opportunities. But if you are interested, you have to see your strengths, weaknesses, and if you can venture in those activities. I can suggest you, say, for example, the glass or the fan, ceiling fans, for example. But can you manufacture ceiling fans? Do you have that equipment? Do you have that technology with you? Do you have that particular finance with you? So all this you have to see what type of activities. So I have broadly indicated that there are needs, physiological needs, social needs, safety needs, and these needs are to be provided to the person. These services are to provide in this particular category. That's why Dr. Vas has given us a very good say narrative. He said that if you have to find out the gaps between what is existing and what you can provide in the market. And for that particular thing, you have to do a market survey. He says what is available, what is accessible, and what is affordable. What is available in the market, which is not available but required by the people. Can you provide that? So gap we have to identify. And that is what I think I have read the inaugural address, some part of the inaugural address of Mr. Mahindra. There also he has said that that gap needs to be identified. Accessible, some product may be there, but whether that product is accessible, easily available to you, if it is not, can you provide it? Such type of questions you have to pose in these particular sectors: physiological needs, social needs, and the safety needs. And that becomes your opportunity of manufacturing.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful answers asked for those questions which are asked by the participants. I want to hand
Thank
over
you so
to
much.
the Ashfaq sir.
Thank you, Mr. B.V. Rathod, sir, for your excellent lecture on women entrepreneurship, challenges and opportunities. And also I thank Dr. Samreen Farooqi for question answer session. Now I would like to request Professor Arif Patan sir to give up vote of thanks.
Before I think Arif Patan sir takes up, I like to read few lines. One poet has narrated. कभी ना कहो, कभी ना कहो कि दिन अपने खराब है, कभी ना कहो कि दिन अपने खराब है, समझ लो कि हम कांटों में घिरे गुलाब है, रखो हौसला वह मंजर भी आएगा, रखो हौसला वह मंजर भी आएगा, प्यासे के पास चलकर समंदर भी आएगा, थक कर ना बैठो ए मंजिल के मुसाफिर, थक कर ना बैठो ए मंजिल के मुसाफिर, मंजिल भी मिलेगी और जीने का मजा भी आएगा। मुझे लगता है मुझे लगता है इन लाइनों से हमने सीखना चाहिए। Women themselves should not think that they have so many challenges, hurdles. I think they should use the opportunities of learning extra things, reskilling their and enhancing their knowledge and venturing into new activities. I wish them good luck for their entrepreneurial ventures. Thank you.
Thank you, Rathod sir, once more. I would request Professor Arif Patan sir to please give up the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ashfaq sir.
Professor Arif Patan. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ashfaq sir. I am very thankful for providing me an opportunity to propose vote of thanks. This webinar of today's cannot see the light of the day only because of contributions from many. And I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to all involved in making this event a success. At the outset, we express sincere gratitude to our patrons, late Dr. Rafiq Zakaria, sir, and Madam Fatma Zakaria, madam, for keeping us inspired and motivated. We humbly thank Dr. Santosh Vas, sir, for accepting our invitation and extending rich and thoughtful contribution to this webinar as a resource person. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to respected B.V. Rathod, sir, for sparing his valuable time and sharing his experience view. His vast experience in the field of industries and entrepreneurship has enriched the audience today. We are equally thankful to the principal, Dr. Mazhar Ahmad Farooqi sir, for his phenomenal support and cooperation throughout. Vice Principal, Professor M.A. Bari, Professor Aditi Bhattacharya, IQSC Coordinator, and Professor Rajan Shinde, NAC Coordinator, are also thanked for their valuable suggestions and guidance. We also thank all the participants, delegates, academicians, entrepreneurs, parents, research scholars, and students for participating, and hope that they will get benefited from this webinar. all the members of organizing committee are thanked for the hard work and efforts that they have put in to make this webinar a reality. Special mention of Dr. Ashfaq Khan for moderating the session. Special thank to both print and electronic media for giving us a good media coverage. Last but not the least, thank you to all well-wishers of our college. Thank you once again. May